Hi, it's Jessi. I'm here with a reading diary style vlog for Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. If you watched this video, you will know that I tried a chapter from a bunch of books that I had out from the library to prioritize the one that sounded the most interesting to me. And if you watched my TBR Star Hop video, you know I cheated. I read Melissa already for unrelated reasons, but now we're gonna read Into the Drowning Deep and give you my thoughts on it as I read through. That's all I really need to say in the introduction here. Hope you enjoy. Alright, so just like with the last reading diary, the Love Hypothesis one I did, I partitioned this into 5 roughly equal sections, which equate to roughly every 6 to 7 chapters. The first section then is done, and therefore I'm about this far in, and I am really liking this so far. So this is about, if you're not familiar with the story, it is about this company called the Imagine Network. Think of like your real world, like the Sci-Fi Network or the History Channel, where they do like things that imply they're more factual than they are, and they get known for these like documentaries they do seeking out different cryptids. And in the mid 2010s they have this expedition of a submarine full of mostly like actors and maybe some news reporters, but like not really qualified to be in a submarine people that go to seek out mermaids in the Marianas Trench. And then horrible tragedy happens. They never return. Some of the wreckage was recovered. Videos are leaked of these mermaid-like creatures, aquatic creatures that are mermaid-esque, attacking the ship. And there's this like long lawsuit and stuff, but you know, after a while it kind of fades from consciousness. People write it off as a hoax, that kind of thing. And then some years later, 6-8 years later, in the year 2022, which amuses me to no end because of how the future was envisioned. Brilliant. They decide that there's been some scientific research that's been done that makes the Imagine Network think it's worth it to send another exhibition to maybe actually find the mermaids and clear their name, but also make a bunch of money off of being the people to discover mermaids officially. But this second crew they're sending is actually people that are qualified to be in a deep aquatic place trying to discover a new species. So it's like scientists and researchers and that kind of thing. And we have this cast that is just, it has the potential, and I know it's not going that way because this is a horror, but it has the potential to just be the funniest comedy. Like, I can imagine this in a totally different book or in a totally different type movie just being really funny, because this cast of characters is just so wild and just absolutely funny. We have like the potential for clash. I mean, it also could be very dramatic, which I'm sure is what it's going to come down to, but like it's just brilliant. It gives me kind of Disney's Atlantis vibes of like, some people are here for the right reasons, some people are here for the wrong reasons. Very just really into this group of people, and I'm so excited to see them interact. Where I'm at right now, they've like just met, and I'm just gonna say now, if you watched up to this point, from here on out I'm gonna start including spoilers for the section that I've read. So far it's just been set up, but from here on out just be aware it'll be spoilers. I think that's all I'm going to say for this intro. Like I said, I really like the characters. We have Tori is sweet and delightful, and maybe she feels a little naive to me, but like in a way that's like not stupid, right? Her lab partner I think is great. I want more of him. Really excited to see Blackwell and the Sirenologist interact. Really excited for that. So I am really interested in where this is going to go. I keep getting tense because I know it's going to be a horror, and I'm just starting to think of like the kinds of things they can do that are going to be, and I keep getting tense. So I'm like really excited but terrified to see where this is going. Like, knowing it's going to be a horror is freaking me out. even though really nothing scary has happened yet. But I'm just like, oh no, all of you, things are gonna go wrong. Oh no, you're not ready. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes for me. Yeah, that's it. I will get back to you after I read another 20%. I'm only like another 30 pages, not the like 75 I'm supposed to be, and that's gonna be loud. Let me pour my water and then I'll talk to you. So yeah, I'm not nearly as far as I should be, but one of my last clip, from what I remember, is basically nonsense. I will rewatch it, maybe there will be something salvageable there. But the way tension is being built in this, like, we have all of these different things that could go wrong. There's the shutters not working, or failing all their tests, whatever you want to say. There are, the guards aren't really guards, they're useless. There's all the interpersonal drama between the different characters that just, I am tense about, unrelated. Oh my god, the personal, connections between everybody and what's building, very good. All very, very good. We've met more characters now that are on the ship. The ship is it's moving now. So I'm really, really into all of that. But here's the thing. There was just this scene that I had to mark because it was like the best I think I've ever seen tension built in my life. And it's just this dumb little parrotfish swimming, and it was so well done. It's just like this whole page, for me, it's page 123. But like, the way the tension was built, and I was just so tense, and I am not ready for her to start hurting people yet. I'm so scared. Also, correction, I thought there was a submarine involved. I think it's just a ship. I think there are parts that go down and like individual small people submersibles, but I don't think the ship itself is a submarine. Regardless, terrified, and we haven't even had anything scary happen yet. I have ironing to do, and my back is killing me, but more importantly, I'm 40% of the way into the Drowning Deep, and oh boy, howdy. That was meant to be a positive comment, by the way. I am really loving this. I've started tabbing, blue tabs, whenever something happens that gives me like oh no, this could come back to bite them in the butt, like, the shutter's not working and everybody thinking that's gonna save their lives, or I don't know, these big game hunters that are just so gung-ho and ready to kill whatever they can get their hands on, those kind of things. And that's been fun. I made one prediction that is already proven not true. I thought perhaps Holly would die before Heather, because there's just such an emphasis put on Heather being the one that's always in danger and being the one that's more at risk, that I thought maybe she'd be the one, she wouldn't be the one to die first, but that was quickly proven wrong when she was killed. Which also shocked me. I was really expecting this to draw out the tension there a little bit more, a little longer. Kind of have a couple close escapes first before anybody dies, but we really jumped right into it by having a character just immediately, almost immediately, which was really something. I mean, it was a good scene. It was really scary. I mean, the whole thing with from the moment something flitted by her radio or by her thing and she's like, I don't know what that was, and then she gets the message that's come back now, and she decides to ignore it. From that moment on, it was terrifying, and it was already kind of creepy before then. So I'm really into this. The relationships, the drama between things I'm kind of into, but the hints at the romance aren't really doing it for me nearly as much, but it's still kind of fun. But that's it. I will read another 20-ish% or maybe less and get back to you. All right, I'm giving up on updating every 20% because once again, I'm halfway and need to talk to you. So I have just finished chapter 17 and Ray died. Ray died. Come on, not okay. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. I mean, Here's the thing. I've given up trying to figure out who's going to die when. I was like, surely these engineers on the deck are expendable. They're the ones that are gonna die. My guesses at this point for the last ones alive are probably the reporter lady whose name I can't remember, knockoff Felicia Day, and Tori for sure. Not sure beyond that, but speaking of, I kind of mentioned this in my last clip, and I think I cut myself off before I really talked about it. I'm not into the romance they're hinting at between them, mostly because they just really haven't interacted at all, like at all. They had like one meeting and then like a scene where they were in the scene together but didn't interact at all. So I'm not really sure where this is coming from. I mean, I guess like the basis of it right now is just not Felicia Day. What is her name? I mean, right now it's just based on like Olivia thinks she's hot, I guess. So it's not like super, you know, trying to be like, ooh, this is a true love, one for the ages, but like, I really wish I wasn't pushing that so much. It's just not necessary. I'm also over these hunters. I don't care how often they're banging. Miss Grant, Mira, honey, I don't care how much they're banging. I don't need that to like bookend everything they're in. But obviously they're supposed to be awful and insufferable. They are giving me, gosh, there are a pair of characters that I think are actually siblings, so it's kind of a weird comparison. If I think of who they're making me think of, I will come back to you. But there's a specific vibe they're giving me that I'm just not loving. But obviously they're not supposed to be likable. We're not supposed to be here rooting for the poachers. Literally every time the shutters are mentioned, I cringe. I'm like, it's stressing me out. And that's really all I have to mention right now. But next time, I will be at 60%, probably. Officially 60% in. I just finished chapter 21. I've added a few new colored tabs that I will talk you through in just a second. So the purple ones at the bottom of the book are just for surprisingly sad moments. I guess I should have, but didn't expect grief to play such a part in this book, but I feel like maybe I should have expected that. It's a horror, people are dying. Maybe I should have expected people to be sad. But that's what those two purple tabs at the bottom are. This blue tab that I've turned in here is just to confirm when one of my bright blue tab suspicions pays off. This one happens to be me saying leaving the hatch to the dolphin enclosure was maybe a bad idea, and a mermaid swam in. And then I immediately added a tab that says, maybe it's a bad idea to keep the mermaid on the ship, just maybe. And then there is the bright green tab right here, which is something I wanted to remember to talk about for sure. So I'm gonna jump right into what that is. Like I mentioned, the relationships in here were something that was strong early on, and then they're kind of pushing, specifically this was about the relationship between Tori and Heather's dead. Hallie. Where's Hallie, the dead one? Liv. Tori and Olivia. And this like quote kind of sums up exactly what my problem with it is. It's I like you, said Tori with a hint of amusement, not mocking quite, but definitely laughing somewhere deep under the words. I didn't at first because of what you represented, but the more I've gotten to know you, the more I've liked you. Except we never got to see Tori get to know Olivia, you know? We didn't get to see that. And it's not just her. We didn't get to see any of the like relationships forming on the ship. There were like a few days of like travel just skipped over to get to the trench, get to the main part. And at the time, I was grateful for that. I was like, yeah, let's get to it. And now I'm really wishing they'd spent more time on that, because it's not just the romance between Tori and Olivia. It's other relationships we haven't really gotten to see develop. Lewis has been talking about all the people he's been getting to know, but specifically that he and Holly have become friends and gotten to know each other better, and that kind of thing. So it's like, I really wish we'd gotten to see more of all of the relationship forming and bonding.
And it's not like Mira Grant has been doing a bad job of building suspense. She definitely could have kept that beginning longer and kept building that suspense and talking about all the things like those freaking shutters that are going to cause problems, and I think it would have been totally fine. The only reason though that I'm harping on this is because it's really the only thing I haven't loved about the book so far. The mermaids are incredibly creepy and spooky and make me uncomfortable, and I love every part of that. The other thing I haven't really talked about that I'm really enjoying in this is the way the scientific community is explored, and we get to see kind of how different scientists interact. The way like the industry is really, really cutthroat, and scientists will totally stab you in the back and steal your research if they get the opportunity and think they can get something out of it, you know? But also highlighting that in the end, it's the corporations that win. They're the ones with the resources and the money and the ability to get what they need, and they're the ones that are going to win in the end. And I think that's kind of been emphasized in the way that Imagine has, one, just kind of appropriated everybody's research as they see fit, and also that they're doing what they want. They're putting people at risk, and they're the ones that are going to get to make the claims. And that's really frustrating, but I also feel like it's fairly realistic, and I've really been enjoying that commentary in this. Update you, maybe 80%? Probably sooner.
Hopefully neither the air conditioning nor my partner's Zoom class are too loud to be disruptive for this video. I'm actually in front of my bookshelves, and I actually made it to the 80% mark. That's this little girly here. Which puts me at just past having just finished chapter 27. Oh boy. This section slowed me down quite considerably, if I'm being entirely honest. It was a lot of them doing science. And here's the thing. I know Mira Grant does a lot of research. It's very clear and very evident in the other things I've read by her. For example, what's the Kingdom of Needle and Bone? Absolutely adored. It's very clear she'd done a lot of research about the medical things she could draw on for that. But I'm not sure how much I buy about the actual research stuff sometimes. Most of it has been fine. It's Jason and Jason's death. I know that research can be very cutthroat and competitive. I know it is not uncommon for professors to take advantage of their students' work. I know that. But Jason does some questionable things that I don't actually believe a scientist would do. So let's just kind of skip to his little death scene here. My note here that I put at the moment was I really wanted the mermaids to eat him. He's honestly the worst. I cannot stand him. He's a misogynistic prick and insecure little baby boy. That said, I fundamentally don't believe a scientist would not do just a little bit more of a safety check before dissecting new and unknown species. I don't think he wouldn't pay attention to, I don't know, check the floor was safe, or sit down to do a dissection, or maybe not just yank at some random thing coming. There were just a few too many missteps there that I don't actually believe a grad student would do. Then again, I don't know. I might be wrong. I know, one, I don't actually do scientific research, right? So what do I know? I also know that like my undergrad experience in the lab was unique. Not a lot of other undergrad programs have that kind of experience in the lab from my understanding. So maybe, but wasn't a fan of that. I just have lost some of the suspense here. I feel like the momentum of the story has kind of fallen to the fact that like we're at the point the mermaids are actively attacking the ship. And I'm kind of meh about it. I'm not feeling the threat of them the way I was 100 pages ago, you know? What are some other comments? Keep working backwards. This is going to be one of my pet peeves. Dr. Toth refuses to call them mermaids, which I'm mildly okay with. I was fine with, except they're doing the dissection on this mermaid that they have, and she's making this really big brouhaha about how, oh, it's not a mermaid, but just you wait, it's gonna be a great reveal. Not a mermaid, not a mermaid. And she finally reveals that it's not a mermaid because it's male. Here, colloquial common terms for animals and other things aren't based on the sex of the animal. We have ladybugs / ladybirds, depending where on the world you are. There are male ladybugs, but we still call them ladybugs. You know? And that's just one example. I'm sure there are others that I'm not thinking of, you know? I'm sorry, the fact that it's a male mermaid doesn't mean it can't be a mermaid. Like, you want to call it a siren for some other reason, that's fine. But being like, this isn't a mermaid because it's male. It was just dumb. It was dumb. It was dumb and unnecessary. But I also totally get her not wanting to call them mermaids, like, initially, and, like, wanting to, like, steer away from those mythological terms. That I can get behind. But being like, this one's not a mermaid because it's a dude. And then the last note I have in here is just about my Olivia Tori thoughts. Here's the thing. I don't actually have a problem with them hooking up and finding comfort in each other. I think it's actually really sweet. But I need this book to stop trying to convince me they're in love when we didn't get to see them fall in love. That's it. That's all I have to say about them. I think I've kind of covered that. But I really did like the tender moment of them finding comfort in each other. Like, that specific moment I liked. I just don't want to... It's just really trying really hard to convince me they're in love now. And I don't buy it. Nah, I don't know. We'll see how the last 20% of this shakes out. I was really, really loving it for the first 60%. And this last 20% chunk kind of started losing it for me. So we see what the last 20% does. But that's my thoughts right now. Thoughts. But I am running late to go to the grocery store. I've put it off so I could finish. I am gonna go get dressed and do that, and I will talk to you when I get back. Alright, let's get into my final thoughts on Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. I do have like 2 tabs in here for comments. I wanted to make that feel very much less important now that I've finished, but I am gonna quickly touch on those. The first one here is that there's this actually, I think, really great scene where Liv is like, I need to go through these chutes to get to the control room at the top of the ship. And Tori's like trying to get her to not do it. She's like, blah, 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 blah. And Liv tells this, I don't think she ever goes by Liv. Olivia tells this really great story. I'm just gonna close this. Tells this really great story about how she fell in love at a convention, and she talks all about how, like, when you have those liminal spaces where you're forced to be around the same people for a short amount of time, not even like a short amount of time, but like you're only around these people, you're interacting with the same people, and you know you don't have all the time in the world, it can really enhance feelings. And then when you add on top of that the death threat of killer mermaids, that you can feel these things that feel real and feel sincere, but wouldn't actually come to be real, or might come to be real, I guess is the better way of putting it, if given more time. And that framed their relationship in a way that made me enjoy it a lot more. So, like, good on that, although I do still think they're trying to convince us these two are going to be together forever, and I just don't buy it. But I do like that framing of their relationship of the, we're in a enclosed space, we're spending a lot of time around each other, strong feelings were bound to develop kind of thing, and I like that. The other tab I have in there, I'm not even going to turn to it, is where Tori figures out that they're dragging this food to feed to a female. That these are all males, they're feeding it to a female, and she talks about sexual dimorphism. And I know later she like addresses it and she's like the anglerfish, but in the moment she does it, right? She talks about how like sexual dimorphism isn't common in fish, well, except in anglerfish, but we shouldn't have been thinking about them like fish, we should have been thinking about them like amphibians. And I was like, all right, but then I was like, you know what, no, that's bothering me, because like sexual dimorphism, if you're not aware of what it is, and I'm sure the book, if you've actually watched the video, you've read the book, and the book talks about it, but it's when the male and the female of the species look significantly different from each other. Birds are a big example of this because generally the males are super colorful and pretty, whereas the females are more bland. Generally that's a good example, but it also tends to do with size. Now in amphibians, a lot of amphibians, stop sounding like a word after a while, do have size dimorphism, whereas the females are bigger than the males. However, and I looked this up because I was like, I don't think it gets to that extreme. In amphibians, it only ever gets to about 2 times the size, where the female is about twice the size of the males. And clearly what's going on in this book is a lot. My problem with this is not that there is this sexual dimorphism where the female is hundreds of times the size of the males. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that she brings it up in the context of amphibians, where that's not common. Well, actually, it doesn't happen at all. Now, in the anglerfish, it does. So her first example that she then immediately dismissed, great example. And then she circles back to it when she's explaining it to somebody else. But, like, that's really the perfect example because anglerfish, the males are often many magnitudes, in the one species of anglerfish, many magnitudes smaller than the females, and they're actually kind of parasitic, and there's this whole thing going on with that. And that's probably the better example to draw from. It was just a weird thing for her to bring up amphibians when they actually had no relevance. And I know, like, they're very intentional in that we don't know whether these mermaids would fit into any of our actual categories. They're not mammals, but they could be fish. They're kind of amphibian insofar as they can live in the water and on land, but then we find out later they don't really do well on land after time. Anyway, I just didn't like that as a twist. I wouldn't even say it's a twist. Like, I feel like the hints are there enough that I would call it a reveal more than a twist. Like, we get in the mermaid perspectives, the, like, 2 or 3 times we have them, we get that they're talking about their mother. We got enough hints about the light glowing from below that I had kind of put that together already. It didn't, to me, it actually lowered the stakes in a way. There's something about the mermaids themselves just being hungry and hunting that was inherently more scary to me than the idea that they were doing it for a purpose. If that makes any sense? I don't know. And there's some loose ends I wasn't comfortable with. I didn't like the mermaid in the tank still being in the tank. I actually didn't love that it saved them. Felt a little weird. Like, does it not? You can't have it both ways. It either realizes it's captured and would be resentful of the fact that it's imprisoned, or and therefore smart enough to understand them, or it doesn't realize it's. I don't really understand what was going on with that. All this to say, didn't love the ending of it. I liked the middle, like, a lot, where you got that tension building, but then the tension released and nothing really since then really worked for me. I feel like she tried to build that tension again in the quiet moments between. Could not care less about the Abneys. Could not. Like, and I feel like there were just so many loose hanging things where you get the idea that this was a research vessel, but we never actually get they discovered. I guess, like, of everyone, Dr. Toth would be, like, the perspective the reader is supposed to be taking, which is that, like, you know they're gonna find them, but you don't want them to find them because you know they're gonna be dangerous, and then now you found them and that was your purpose. I don't know. The ending fell a little flat for me. I did not do my rating. Give me like 2 minutes. I don't know why I say that like you have to wait, but I'm gonna go calculate my rating and I'll come back to you with what I rate this. All right, having done that, it came to a 3.83. I want to clarify that, like, if you've seen my ratings in the past, I have an originality rating. I've gotten rid of that because I hate it. So 3.83. Big part bringing that down, like I said, was the ending, but also, like, I didn't think the characters were very well-rounded or really went through a good arc in this. Like, it's not like Olivia really learned anything. It's not like Tori really grew as a person. I mean, I guess she confronted her demons in a way, but anyway, 3.83 on Storygraph. That's going to be 3.75, and that's that. As always, like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I think the next reading diary I do, I have Dead House Gates I'm gonna get started on. But if there's any individual books like this one you would like me to just one-off read and react to in this kind of full-on reading diary style, please leave it down below and I will check it out. All right, love y'all. Bye.